Greetings, Earthlings. This is Mr.Intihar. It's 1:28 in the afternoon on Monday, the 25th of May. Welcome back. This is for my higher class, but it could end up being for a Nat 5 class later on in the year, depending if we go to blended learning when we start the school year in August. Anywho, this is 19C, episode 19C, so the third and final part of developing a story, creative story for your folio piece. I hope you will be appreciating these videos and how awesome they are. I don't know, the zoom out, the zoom in effect. Oh, it's pretty awesome. I love this software when I can get it to work. Right, so we left off last time, number 4, on arc of the story. So we're going to follow the narwhal here. If you don't know what a narwhal is, it's a single-tusked marine mammal, which is native to, I believe, the Arctic. I don't know if it lives in the Antarctic. There's a narwhal in the movie Elf with Will Ferrell, and as you can see here, the narwhal keeps getting bigger. So it's the case of the ever-increasing narwhal. I got a bit of jazz playing in the background as well. I guess I'll find out if it's distracting. When I listen back to the video, maybe I should just turn it off to be sure it's not. So, if you're starting a creative story, something that often happens with people is you have no Scooby on how to actually begin. So this last part, part 5 of this video is different ways to start your story. So, number 1. You could describe a character in the first paragraph or first couple of paragraphs. You could describe a setting. I spoke about setting in video 19A, I believe. You could describe an object, and I'll show you what I mean by that in a second. Likewise, you could describe an action. You could have a conversation. Now, conversation is something that needs to be punctuated very specifically, and we call that direct speech. Well, that's one of the things we call it. So punctuating direct speech. Do you feel comfortable punctuating direct speech? In a nutshell, I won't go into it in full detail here. I'll probably do a full video or a whole lesson on that. In a conversation, new speaker, when the speaker changes, it equals a new line. So you always take a line when the speaker changes. That's one of the main errors I find pupils make. Also, end punctuation. So the clue is in the name, end punctuation. E.g. full stop, exclamation mark, or question mark. End punctuation goes inside the final quotation marks. And if you've been in my class before, you'll probably have heard me say, we don't call them speech marks in high school. That's primary school way of talking about them. We can call them quotation marks, or also known as inverted commas. So make sure if you're doing direct speech that your punctuation at the end goes inside those final quotation marks or inverted commas. Okay, folks, so we've got those 5 possibilities, right, of starting a story. So if we take this story of, I'm going to make my pen a little bit smaller. If we took the imaginary story of Little Red Riding Hood. So imagine you came up with the idea of Little Red Riding Hood. It hasn't been written yet, right? It's a story that is your idea. You're going to create this story, you're going to come up with it, and you're going to write it. But you're not sure how to start it. You've got a character in mind, you've got an idea of what's going to happen. Basically, a little girl runs to the woods with a basket to take some food to her granny. She meets a wolf in the woods. She gets away from him. She gets to the cottage. There's a granny looks kind of weird in bed, yada, yada, yada. You know how the story goes. So if you were writing this story, maybe in your first paragraph, you could describe what she looked like. So you could describe, in this picture, I think if we zoom right in, she's got blue eyes. It looks like she's wearing glossy lipstick. That's kind of questionable for a girl her age. Her hands look pretty big too for a girl her age, so it's kind of strange. It seems that she's got kind of reddish hair there. So your first paragraph, and obviously number 6, when we come to number 6 in this video, you'll see, I mean, I'm a huge fan of descriptive language, similes, metaphors, making things interesting. I already spoke earlier about showing, not telling. So you could describe a character. Alternatively, you could describe, like number 2, you could describe the setting where the story takes place. So, you know, deep, dark woods. Part of it takes place in the cottage where she lives. So maybe describe the cottage and what that's like. Alternatively, you could describe an object. Perhaps it could be her basket. Oh, I had a paragraph on the basket. Written somewhere, but like in the paragraph, Red's basket was well worn with use. The handle was shiny where she had gripped it numerous times to make her trips across the forest to her grandmother's place. It was woven from reeds taken from the river close to where her cottage stood in the forest. It had a faint smell of mildew mixed with juniper berries, you know, something like that. So you could actually describe her basket. So depending on the story you're writing and what goes on in your story, that could be an option for you if you're not sure how to start it. Alternatively, you could describe, as you have in number 4, describe an action. So maybe it's the care with which she bakes and prepares food with her mom, or maybe her dad. We never really hear about her dad, do we? I don't know. Is she a single parent family? I'm not sure. Anyway, but that idea of describing an action of her loading up the basket perhaps. But again, it depends on what your story is. You can decide for yourself. And number 5, a conversation. So perhaps that's a conversation between Little Red and her mom. Or if it's an updated version, maybe she's on maybe she's on Instagram or Snapchatting her granny on what to deliver or what she'd like delivered to her house today. You get the idea. For your creative story, I've given you 5 different possible ways of starting it. If you're still not sure, as always, get in touch with me. Okay? So, starting, that's that part of the video. Have you ever seen, look how small, whoa, look how small things can get. Oh my gosh. What's that thing over there? It's quite a big universe. I love the infinity screen. That's what apparently it's called, the infinity screen. I'm a big fan of the idea of infinity. Does anybody out there know what the symbol is for infinity? Yes, it is just a loop. Now, luckily, that's the infinity symbol. Where's my infinity gauntlet? I think it's still in my classroom. Anyway, this is a final video for me. I recorded this late at night when I was trying to finish this in time for Friday, I think. I said I was going to have this up on whatever day I wanted to have this up on. I tried to do it in time, but it didn't work, so I had to break it down into smaller bits. So let's hopefully, I'm going to turn off the microphone, and hopefully this will work this time. Look at me with my drawing glove on, and that's my old band t-shirt that I drew. I'm not in that band anymore. Anyway, I'll leave it here. I'll pass it over to myself, and when I'm done talking the video will be over. Peace out. Happy Monday. I'll be in touch because we're going to have to start doing some RUAE stuff this week. Okay. Love you all. Bye. Yo, this is my drawing glove that I use when I'm doing iPad stuff. Hi, it's Mr.Intihar, and this is my pep talk, so it's kind of trying to boost you for doing your short story, try and get you kind of in the mood. If you got a funky pen, ooh, fountain pen, that can help, but it's not important. When you're writing your short story, I'm going to be reading it. I don't want to read boring stuff. I want to see evidence of effort. If I see that you've tried to use descriptive language, to use things like similes and metaphors, personification, you know, giving human characteristics to something that's not human. If I see that you've tried to do stuff like that, I will be happy. I'll be proud of you, and I'll be proud of the effort that you put in. So when you're doing all the stuff that I've outlined in this video, in this lesson, be sure to keep that in mind. It's really, really important to use that kind of stuff. because they're tools that writers use for specific purposes. Another thing that you can think about is paragraphing and the length of your sentences. So if you think about varying your sentence length, don't always have sentences that are similar kind of length. One word sentences, one word paragraphs. If I see a bunch of paragraphs that are all the same size and length, it looks boring. It just looks boring. So like before I even read a single word, I'm bored. So think about varying, changing up the length of the paragraphs when you're describing things, and the length of your sentences. I haven't mentioned dialogue, so having direct speech, characters talking to each other. You don't have a lot of space in this story. If it's Nat 5, you've only got 1,000 words maximum. If it's higher, you got 1,300 words. So keep dialogue, characters speaking to each other, to a minimum. I should really do a whole lesson on direct speech and how to punctuate that, and hopefully I will before lockdown finishes, before the end of the school year, before summer. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, evidence of effort. I want to see people trying stuff, trying different stuff, and doing what I've asked or what I've kind of tried to show you in this lesson. And if I see that you've tried, even if you think the story is rubbish, even if the story is kind of rubbish, I mean, well, you know, I'm not a writer, so all I want to see is effort, that you've given it a shot, and maybe even tried to do something that you've never done before. And from the evidence of the characters that I've had coming in from pupils, I've been really impressed by what I've seen. The computer's just kind of gone quiet and it got all dark. Right, that's all I'm going to say. Good luck. And of course, always email me if you've got any questions or issues, if you're feeling uncomfortable about anything. Intihar out. Later days.